All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to this explainer, where we are tackling the absolute ultimate power scaling debate. Today, we're diving into the data behind the Invincible universe's most terrifying combatants: Thragg, Battle Beasts, and Invincible himself, Mark Grayson. If you've ever found yourself wondering who actually sits at the absolute peak of this universe, you are definitely in the right place. Look, we're skipping all the fluff today. No wild, infinite scaling hypotheticals, okay? We are focusing strictly on a practical, feat-based combat ranking of these three titans. People constantly ask about this specific trio for one very good reason. These are the Invincible universe's biggest walk into the room and everyone just shuts up bruisers. We're looking at their absolute peak levels to determine who truly dominates the battlefield.
Now, if we're going to figure out who actually takes the crown, we have to strip away the plot armor. So let's agree on some hardcore ground rules. Strict 1v1 matchups, absolutely no prep time, a perfectly neutral battlefield, and we are only looking at the peak versions we've actually seen them operate at. And of course, victory is strictly by KO, incapacitation, or death.
Here's our fight card for today. First, the Ultimate Bruiser benchmark. Then, our number 3 spot, the High Ceiling Underdog. After that, number 2, the Endurance Demon. Next up, number 1, the Apex Predator. Finally, we'll dive into the head-to-head fight outcomes and wrap the whole thing up with power scaling and beyond.
All right, Section 1, the Ultimate Bruiser benchmark, and why these exact matchups actually matter.
So check out this fascinating power scale loop. These three form, without a doubt, the definitive triangle of power debates. You've got the hero, Mark, trying to reach the top against Thragg. You have the two purest fighters, Battle Beast and Thragg, clashing to prove who is the absolute strongest. And then you have that unavoidable three-way comparison. This trio defines the absolute power ceiling of the entire series.
Moving on to Section 2, sitting at number 3, the High Ceiling Underdog, Mark Grayson.
Now, I know, it might surprise some of you to see Invincible himself at number 3, but when you really look at the data, a fascinating reality pops up. Mark's potential? It's terrifying. His power grows explosively, but the harsh reality is he's competing against finished, optimized monsters. In a clean 1v1 against true killers, Mark's explosive growth is so often hampered by his own hesitation. In these specific matchups, morality is a very real, quantifiable negative stat.
Which brings us to the brutal reality of the Invincible universe. As the saying goes, hesitation becomes openings, restraint becomes lost win conditions, and I can't do that becomes they will do that to you. Sure, Mark can survive way longer than most, but survival isn't winning, right? His tactical gaps and those split-second hesitations leave him just a step behind the top 2 when we look at equal peak encounters. I mean, half a second is literally forever at this level. It's long enough to get punched straight through a mountain.
That brings us to Section 3, coming in at number 2, the Endurance Demon, Battle Beast. Unveiling Battle Beast at number 2, this guy is the wandering conqueror who fights like every single second is the only thing he respects. His stats are genuinely terrifying: unreal pain tolerance, extreme aggression, and an uncanny knack for turning fights into bloody, close-quarter scrambles. He is an absolute master of the worst place possible in a fight, the pocket, where spacing feels like a total myth. Here's the crucial takeaway. Battle Beast's ultimate win condition is dragging you into deep water and just drowning you in pure attrition. He consistently shows a way higher finishing instinct and a comfort level with violence that Mark rarely matches. But here's the fascinating catch we discovered. His massive desire for satisfaction and an honorable fight, it can actually tempt him to prolong encounters that he really should finish immediately. If he's having a bit too much fun, he might just accidentally hand you an opening. All right, Section 4, the one you've been waiting for. Number 1, the Apex Predator, Thragg. When you actually break down the stats, Thragg emerges as the undeniable, definitive number 1 combatant. The Grand Regent of the Viltruminite Empire is optimized purely for winning wars. Just notice his lethal consistency in these engagements. He's the ultimate Viltruminite benchmark because he seamlessly combines elite speed with decisive fight-ending grapples. Thragg doesn't care about looking cool or having cool moments. He only cares about ending the problem standing in front of him.
Let's take a closer look at his edge and see how this builds his overall profile. Thragg's advantage really comes down to his disabling strikes, his habit of targeting vitals, his elite decisive speed, and a combat IQ that perfectly exploits fear and ego. But you know his biggest weapon? Unmatched consistency. He possesses far superior execution, meaning he literally doesn't need perfect conditions to secure a kill. He doesn't waste time in exchanges feeling you out. If he senses he can finish it, it's done.
Moving into Section 5, Head-to-Head Fight Outcomes, the tail of the tape. Let's step right into the analytical ring. Analyzing that iconic Thragg versus Beast matchup, let's compare their quick stats. If you look at the breakdown, strength, basically a dead tie. But look at the divergence here. Beast takes durability and stamina, making him an absolute attrition nightmare. Thragg, on the other hand, takes speed, reactions, combat IQ, and killer instinct. It's Thragg's surgical precision and speed pitted directly against Beast's insane durability. Contrasting their win conditions reveals pretty much everything about how this clash goes down. Thragg absolutely needs to keep it fast, target those vitals, and exploit any single moment Beast chooses fun over a clean finish. Beast, conversely, needs to extend the fight, force ugly clinches, and completely drain Thragg's stamina. The verdict? Well, Thragg wins more often through pure efficiency, but Beast guarantees that the victory will be gruesome, costly, and rarely ever look easy. Now, if you've ever wondered why Mark struggles so incredibly hard against these two specifically, it all comes down to this head-to-head dynamic. Against Thragg, Thragg's cold execution brutally punishes Mark's moral hesitations. And against Beast, man, if Mark inadvertently agrees to a slugfest and gets dragged into close quarters trading, Beast just absolutely dominates. Mark's only real path against Beast is strict tactical discipline, managing distance and staying mobile, not just relying on raw heart. Finally, Section 6, Power Scaling and Beyond, where context is absolutely king.
Look, we've all seen those heated forum debates about these exact results, right? And it almost always boils down to common power scaling traps. We have to be super careful of different continuities between the comics and the TV show. Then there are those context-heavy feats, like was the character already injured? Was it a surprise attack? We also really have to account for protagonist bias. Mark's plot survivability can sometimes totally look like dominance. And finally, style makes fights. A stamina monster can absolutely win encounters that look totally lost early on.
To put all of this into perspective, just look at crossover debates like The Boys versus Invincible. It brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of Viltrumite tier speed and strength. The physical gap is just massive. The reaction windows practically vanish, and standard damage simply becomes a minor annoyance. It proves exactly why our top three, Thragg, Beast, and Mark, are just in a league of their own entirely. I mean, if Mark scales this high above other universes, you can start to see why Thragg and Beast sitting above him is so utterly terrifying.
And hey, this actually perfectly leads us to the upcoming 2026 fighting game, Invincible vs. Is. It's super crucial to remember here, game balance is not canon power. The developers have to balance these characters so the game is, actually fun to play. They're going to normalize health and distribute tools so everyone has a viable win condition. So a fair fight between Mark and Beast in the game definitely shouldn't be confused with their actual brutal lore rankings that we just broke down. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. What version of these fighters do you actually want to see in the 2026 Invincible vs game? Do you want the developers to lean into this terrifying, highly unbalanced lore hierarchy where Thragg is a rushdown terror and Beast is an unkillable stamina monster? Or do you prefer a perfectly balanced roster where anyone can win on any given day? Think about it and let the debates continue.